Now, before we do, we are going to introduce a segment that we affectionately call Dear Daddy.
Dear Daddy.
Out on the Montana plains where the big sky meets the land, dear Daddy stands with the Bible in a calloused hand. His heart is full of faith and his stories never end. He shares the wisdom from the range where wild rivers bend. He's roped the winds of doubt and tamed the storms of fear. With a prayer and a grin, he makes the truth appear. From the Bible's holy words to the lessons of the soil, he shares God's love with honesty and none can foil. Dear Daddy, oh dear Daddy, hear the cold cry. With your cowboy heart, you answer questions why. Faith and life, you guide us through the darkest night. Dear Daddy, shine your wisdom, lead us to the light.
Now, I just want you to know that Justin's... Let's do it again.
Dear Daddy.
That's his best attempt.
It is.
It's his best attempt at a Valley Girl.
Yeah, Valley Girl. And I just... Look,
but I want to make sure that you know that we're not making fun of homosexuals.
No, I am making fun of Valley Girl accent.
Yeah, so if you're a Valley Girl, you can be offended. If you're a homosexual, you can be offended by a lot of other things, but not that particular accent.
Does it really matter? This is our show.
I just want to be clear on that. So, Dear Daddy is a segment in which we ask Dear Daddy a question from you, the audience. This question is very relevant to our conversation and especially where the conversation will lend itself. Have you thrown up the graphic? Did we throw up the graphic?
I have not. You were talking the entire time. I did not get a good...
You can throw up the graphic just because the podcast, nobody needs to see that. We're not playing the full song. Because that gets old. We do that just for the shorts. Let's get another. Justin, hit it.
Dear Daddy.
Okay, so here's the question. You ready for this?
I'd like to hear Creighton try and say it first.
Creighton doesn't do Valley Girl.
Can you do it in your best Italian accent?
Dear Daddy.
That was not bad. That was not bad. Improv.
That came naturally for you.
Yeah,
It sure did.
It was like 2/5 natural.
Right.
Is that a 3/5 joke that you got wrong?
No, I was avoiding because it's not that you're black. It was 2/5.
My goodness, just read the card, man.
You brought that in. Okay, you ready, Vincent?
Ready as I'll ever be.
All right, here's your question. What are the okay? Let me preface this. You probably maybe. Creighton has like 2 churches that he's been to in his life.
Right.
Calvary Chapel, Stone Mountain, and then he came to Calvary 316. Neither of which he ever had a decision to make. Like he was, his parents went to Calvary, Stone Mountain. He was stuck, and he was kind of stuck coming with us.
That's not true. I made the decision to come to 316.
Right,
that was
sure.
a me thing.
That was you, sure. Yeah.
That was a God thing.
See how that worked out. Spices could be applicable, but for you, like you moved here from another place, you had to find a church. So of all of us, and I mean, again, that was a good decade ago.
Yeah.
But here's the question. What are the 3 most important things to look for in a church?
The number one thing that I look for is the Holy Spirit present, or is the pastor tooting his own horn.
Okay, elaborate on that.
Well, I grew up in a church where all the pastor did was toot his horn, and it was gross and off-putting, and I didn't like it. And the second I was old enough to not go to church anymore, I quit going to church, which was the wrong decision as a 15-year-old. I wasn't very wise. I quit going to church, and I was running around with my boys, rock climbing, mountain biking, snowboarding, you know, anything but going to church on Sunday. And I was hanging off a cliff face in Aspen, Colorado on a Sunday morning, and the Holy Spirit just very heavily came over me and made me realize that I had put my church attendance in the faith of men and not in the faith of God. And so I was looking for God in the pastor instead of looking for God in the church. And so as soon as I got back from that trip, church attendance and the faith of men.
Oh man, I just have totally like,
Wow.
man, rookie mistake. I was gonna try to like join the comment section.
That was a party foul if I've ever seen one.
I can't believe that.
That is Bush League.
Would
sir.
also like to welcome Mark Lawson watching the show. That's great. Jessica Holcomb and Karen Redmond, thank you for joining us. Sorry, I interrupted you. I had the volume up on my phone. That was a rookie mistake. Again, back to what are the three most important things to look for in a church. Number one, the Holy Spirit's present.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was very important to me at 15 years old, going back to look for the first church for myself. You know, I always went to church because my parents forced me to or made me or whatever. This was the first point in my life where I went back to church because God led me back to church. And so I actually didn't know anything about this whole Bethel church thing, which is kind of funny because Chelsea and I met at an Assembly of God church.
No way, really?
At the youth group in Montana. And we were actually married in an Assembly of God church because it was beautiful by a Calvary Chapel pastor.
Oh,
So-
the ironies here.
So the ironies here tonight are wild. I didn't know this episode was happening this way. I didn't know anything about this Bethel church thing because it's not on my radar. Just funny side note, but
Not huge in the diesel community.
yeah, weird. So going back for the first time, hunting, searching for a church that I could encounter the Holy Spirit in. I started visiting a lot of churches until I experienced the Holy Spirit. It just happened to be a Calvary Chapel in Hamilton, Montana. And so that became very important to me as a kid. And I say as a kid, at 15, I was working 80 hours a week in a full-time job, but that's important to me.
So one, the Holy Spirit's present.
Yeah.
Two,
I really like a church that has a membership option. I think
interesting. I like that.
it gives you a sense of feeling like you're at home. You know, not that that's super important to everybody, but it was important to me because I wanted to make a decision that this was now my church at 15, 16 years old. And I feel like if a church doesn't have a membership, it's almost like they're not taking the congregation seriously. So that was pretty valuable to me.
So it gave you a way, and just even if it's symbolic,
Right.
to
It
like
was my choice that this is my church. So we were happy at that church in Montana. We later moved, just life. I started a company. I didn't want to compete with the company that taught me everything I knew. So we moved out of state and we had to look for another church. We found another Calvary Chapel, hoping that it was going to be the same. And it wasn't. It was more mega churchy. I never met the pastor, never grew to know any of the people in the congregation there. It was just huge, 3 services. We went there for years, never experienced the Holy Spirit there. I went to make my wife happy more than anything. And so when we moved to Georgia, I told her, I was like, we're going to find a church family again. Like, I want to belong to a church. I want to be involved in the church. And at first I didn't, but after we found C316 on Facebook, I showed up wearing a very controversial shirt, and I told my wife, I was like, if I feel like everybody's like judging me because of what I wore to church, we're out. Like, I don't want to deal with a hypocritical congregation. Like, I want to find a church family, and if I find a church family, they won't care what I'm wearing. And you walked up to me day one, shook my hand, and said, I love that shirt. So
the three things
that's important to me. Just
Holy Spirit's present.
Yep.
2 is
Option to be a member.
which I think is a very interesting thing. That kind of caught me a little off guard.
Well,
And
when
then-
I was 15 when I came up with this list. So
but that's good. And but then third is just non-judgmental.
yeah. Yeah, because as the church, you know, people seeking Jesus will hopefully show up at church. And if they walk into a congregation that's sneering and looking down their noses at them and turning their backs on them when they stand up at the end of the service, that's not bringing anybody into the church of Christ. And it's definitely not showing people God's light or the reflection of God's presence in that church. So I've always been a very non-judgmental person in the church. I don't know why those 3 strangers showed up today, but I'm going to make sure that they feel welcome, and I'm going to make sure that they feel like people walked up to talk to them and approach them. And, you know, that's what we're called to be, as fishers of men. And we're supposed to reflect God's love to the world around us. And what more important place than at the church?
I love it. I love it. Those are 3 things. I put them in our comment section on Facebook, and so you can refer back to them. We'll post them on YouTube as well. Again, quick recap. The 3 things, Vinny, you think are most important. 1, Holy Spirit.
Yep.
2, membership. 3,
a non-judgmental congregation.
Love it. Love it. Well, let's get back to this conversation about Bethel Church.